Hey, it looks like all of the fallout from what happened today, well, yesterday night, for the Mariners is done. It starts with Ken Rosenthal sending out a tweet and writing an article about how Scott Service, Mariners field manager, will be fired, and Dan the Man Wilson will be replacing him, and at the time with what was called the interim manager. So yeah, okay. Went 1-8 on the road trip. It was time to make a change. They decided we're gonna fire Scott. So they fire Scott. Scott finds out from the Rosenthal tweet. He does not find out from Jerry DePoto. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that Jerry DePoto had to wait to talk to his longtime friend and co many years. I think between the Angels and the Mariners, almost 15 years. 9 of them with the Mariners. And it's unfortunate that that happened. So that happens. The Mariners announced that they will be making a press conference. They announced that the Mariners have relieved uh, field manager Scott Service and hitting coach Jacob DeHart of their duties, effective immediately. They will be replaced with Dan Wilson on an interim basis. Dan Wilson is the permanent manager going into 2025. Edgar Martinez, who was our hitting coach from 2015 to 2018 when we had the sixth highest WRC plus over that time frame. So, not the worst move, but it's also reeks of the organization being like, remember when we had a 12.5 game deficit that we made up on the Angels in '95 with Dan and Edgar and all of those guys? And it's like, come on, guys, come on. I don't even remember if Dan and Edgar were on a team together. I was one that year. But yeah, it reeks of the organization saying, yep, Scott Service ends his tenure as the only manager other than Lou Piniella to manage the Mariners in a playoff series. Unfortunately, the Mariners still have not scored a home run, or even a run for that matter, a playoff game at home in 23 years. If you remember, there was that 18-inning game against Houston a couple years ago, after we made it into the playoffs. Here's managers. So, Lou Piniella, Scott Service, unfortunately, got fired this year. So, we're going to look at the Seattle Mariners managers. Games greater than 500. Lou Piniella was 129 games over 500 and 1,551 games. And Scott's 38 games over 500 and 1,322 games with a 514 winning percentage. Lou has a 542 winning percentage. Lloyd McLean, who managed 102 seasons, is the only other manager besides those three over 500. So unfortunate that that's the case, but it is what it is. Now, Edgar, as the hitting coach, I don't disagree with that being a possibility. I think that could be kind of cool to see what happens. I agree with the idea of bringing in Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson, he could do a lot for the Mariners. I think he is a player who is going to focus on what can be improved, going to focus on getting back to the fundamentals of baseball. Now, the question becomes, what happens? Scott recently, and by recently I mean within the last 15 minutes, released a statement. Um, Basically thanking everybody. He thanked John Stanton. He thanked the organization. He thanked the players. He thanked the fans. He thanked the community. But who he didn't thank was Jerry DePoto, his longtime friend. So yeah, Ryan DeVitch. Statement reads as follows. Statement from Scott Service reads, quote, I have devoted my entire life to baseball, from playing Little League games in Coon Valley, Wisconsin, to leading the Seattle Mariners for nearly a decade. It has been one of the greatest honors of my career, and my family and I are grateful for the shared experiences along the way. The tremendous people whom I have had the privilege to work alongside everyday players, coaching staff, support staff, ballpark employees, media, and all who had a hand in this journey. Thank you. Together, we ended a 21-year postseason drought and just days ago held first place in a fiercely competitive division. To the players, you've been the core of this journey. The energy and competitiveness on the field match the camaraderie and bond we shared in the locker room. Nothing has been more rewarding than watching you grow and bring all your all to the game. I know that this team has a bright future ahead. To the Mariners ownership, I appreciate the opportunity to lead our team for the last 9 seasons and bring a winning culture back to the Pacific Northwest. To the fans, you are the soul of this organization. Your support has driven us to push harder, fight longer, and never back down. The return of postseason baseball to Seattle was a moment we shared together, and I am confident that your commitment to the team will continue to push them forward. To the city of Seattle, you embraced my family and me, and we are forever grateful for your support. As this chapter closes, I leave with pride in what we've accomplished together and excitement for what the future holds. Thank you, Seattle. Scott Service. So, yeah, Scott basically thanked everybody except his friend. Um, his friend who fired him. That's why you don't work for friends, because sometimes they'll have to fire you. Ay, ay, ay. But yeah, Charlie Poto had to fire Scott today. It was a move that basically said, do something or you're fired from John Stanton. The thing is, the Mariners have been like number 1 and 2 in Operation Profit the last couple of years. Part of that helped by the playoff run, winning 90, 90, and 88 games over the last 3 seasons, getting eliminated on the last day of the season last year, clinching the playoffs on the last day of the season the year before, and all of that. But yeah, it's gotten to the point where something had to change because it was clear after the 1-9 road trip that the Mariners looked bad. Just Randy Arozarena has like 17 strikeouts in the last 10 days. Julio has a really good on base percentage over the last little bit, but he did have a platinum sombrero after being rushed back from the IL. It's possible he'll come back and play center field starting tomorrow against San Francisco. But that definitely doesn't seem like a Scott decision. That seems like a decision that was made by the ESPN executives and said, we want Julio on Sunday Night Baseball for more money. Um, Dan Wilson being named permanent manager makes me think that Larry DePoto does have at least one more off season to do something to make the Mariners a competitive team again. Unfortunately, I don't know what he can do with the budget he has. The budget's pretty low. Looking at the Mariners for next year, they have one glaring hole as first base, as Justin Turner is 39 years old and going to be a free agent at the end of the season. But also he's 39 years old. But that's a glaring hole as we got rid of Ty France. Pete Rose is available. Maybe you bring him. But I think we need a guy who's a slugger. Like a guy who hits 250, 300, 250, 260, but slugs 600. That's what we need for first base. Um, Catcher's locked up for at least the next 3 seasons with Cal, as he's our 1, 2, and 3 through that. We got shortstop okay for next year and the year after, but I honestly think J.P. Crawford might be a candidate for being designated for assignment or traded after having a bad season this year. Second base is Polanco. He's got a club option that if he keeps playing like he's been playing, we probably pick up. Demo's under contract for $3 million. Rojas is our 3 Super 2, so he's got 2 more years of arbitration. Sam Haggerty can come up for arbitration, but he is out of options, so if he doesn't make the major league roster next year, we will leave him. Rivas is just a renewal. Mitch Haniger has a player option for 17.5 million. No way he declines that. Julio's locked up. Randy's ARB 3 and 4, so we got Randy for 2 years. But Luke Raley and Dom Canzone, I don't see those being the secrets at outfield. So Victor Robles, great outfielder. Have him play right field. I think Robles playing right field with Randy in left and Julio in center. Great outfield. And then Haniger or Rayleigh or Canzone, one of those three would be a fine fourth outfielder designated hitter type. Mitch Garver has to be off the team, but he's got a 2025 salary of 12.5 million and a mutual option of 12 million the following season. Which, yeah, there's a lot that has to happen over the next little bit for us. Uh, and I don't like what I see in terms of that. So Scott's career, 1,322 games managed, 680 wins, 642 losses, a 514 winning percentage. This season, 128 games, 64 and 64, 128 wins, or 500 winning percentage. Not great, not the end of the world, but also I did see, I think it was Sarah Langs who said that Scott Service is the in Major League Baseball history to have a 10-game division lead and be fired uh, in the same season. Conversely, the Mariners are also the only team in Major League Baseball history to have a 10-game division lead and then fire their manager before the end of the season. It's one of those things that's just like every time you think something's happened in baseball before, yeah. So it's one of the things where it's like, what are we going to do next? So hopefully the Mariners can figure it out. But other than that, I thought I was going to have a Mariners free day today. I walk into Applebee's. I mean, I went into the daily thread and I was like, hey, we can't lose a baseball game today. I walk into Applebee's after I finish shopping at Target to get unlimited boneless wings and ribs and stuff. And I get the notification, Scott Service fired by Mariners. And I'm like, what? And honestly, Scott, thanks for everything for Seattle. You got us a playoff appearance, winning record, and more often than not, you had us in contention. I don't think it's your fault that you were given a roster that wasn't really designed to compete. You got Jorge Polanco, Mitch Haniger, and Mitch Garver on this roster. I'm gonna end the video now. Be on Patreon, or not? I do have a Patreon, but I don't put anything on there yet. Planning on launching that later. Uh, yeah. But you can book me on Cameo for $11.